Hi there, and welcome to the Skylight Books author reading series. If you'd like to learn more about us and our many upcoming author events, please visit skylightbooks.com, where you can browse our inventory, buy books, and join our Friends with Benefits Club. You can also follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. To speak to a real live bookseller like me, please call 323-660-1175. Thanks for your support, and enjoy.
And I want to start with you. How did you get started?
I always wanted to write, and I started working on short stories in graduate school, and I wrote my first novel in graduate school, and the week after I graduated, I moved back to New York. I was sitting at a coffee shop, and I spilled water on my computer, and I lost the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
So all the 3 years of work down the drain.
Oh my God.
And actually, though, silver linings, but I thought I was going to be, selling that novel, and I ended up taking a job as a journalist working for a variety of magazines and newspapers such as ESPN, Glamour, Self, and it really taught me a lot, and I think my first novel was better for it. In the second incarnation, which only had 5, I had the first chapter saved as a hard copy, so that's all that lasted from one to the other.
That's incredible. And Robin, what about you? Lady of many.
Lady of many. I've always wanted to tell stories, and so I've always had huge interest in writing and acting, and I've kind of done them both. And my parents have kind of steered me away from acting, and writing I could do for fun. So I wrote my first novel when I was 14 years old by hand. It's still in my garage. I went to Yale, and on the car drive up, my dad said, "Don't think we're sending you to Yale to study drama." So I majored in psychology, and then I came out and was like, okay, now I'm ready to be an actor. And they said, oh, what about law school? So I kind of made a deal with them that I would study acting if I'd go to law school at the same time. And so I kind of did both, but I never stopped writing, but just for myself. Like, it was kind of what I did to get away and to calm down, and to just kind of be free. And so I spent 6 years working on a book prior to this one that did not sell. And when I had the idea, then I had 2 years of complete shutting down, not being able to do anything at all. And then when I had the idea for this book, I was kind of, I was very intent on getting it out as quickly as possible because I didn't want to give away another 6 years of my life and not be able to sell it and get it out there. And so I wrote The Idea of You in about 1.5 years and sold it, and here I am.
Awesome.
And I've also just come from a set. This is not my hair, and I don't usually have all this makeup on.
You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
You do,
yeah. Yes.
I'm playing Scrooge in a BET Christmas movie.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
And that's the Scrooge makeup and hair they gave you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's wow. Wait, we're really coming up, and this is what they're doing for women as the Scrooge.
I know, yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And Gretchen, tell us about your writing journey. How did you get started writing?
Well, I'm so embarrassed to be sitting next to these two. I went to Yale. I'm all so fancy. I married Danny Bonaduce, and it was an adventure, and I thought I would write about it. And so I never really, I'm a producer. I love producing TV shows, but I never really thought about writing a book. And then I would tell stories to people, and they're like, oh my God, you should write a book. And so I go, okay, I think I will. And so then I interviewed people because I didn't think I could do it. I tried to meet people, talk to them, and see if maybe they could ghostwrite for me. And then they would write a chapter, send it to me, and I'd go, this doesn't sound like me at all. You're British, I sound British in this story. So, and then it turns out I'm super greedy. And so when I thought about, I'm going to have to give them 50%, I'm like, no, I'm going to sit down and write this book myself. And so that's kind of how I came about it. I just thought I have stories people can relate to, and I'm going to try to write it the best I can. There'll be editors, so they'll make sure I don't look stupid or, less stupid anyway. And so that's kind of how I went about it.
Awesome. And now I want to dig deeper into each of your manuscripts. So tell us about Hello, Sunshine. when you first started working on this project, did you know what it was going to be in the end? Did you have an idea, or where did you start in your process?
For me with Hello Sunshine, I was really interested in, oh sure, I'm sorry. I was really interested in the idea of how social media and sort of living our life online while we're supposed to be experiencing it, what kind of, what the result was of that sort of disjunct, and how we could possibly live an authentic life if at the same time we're trying to capture it in a certain light. And so I was spending some time thinking about that, and then I was reading about, I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago there was the Sony hack here, where so many of the top executives at Sony had their emails hacked, and some pretty awful things came out, and I started to think about whose life, if put under a microscope with all the technology, would look okay on the other end. So
Nobody.
So I created a character to sort of take a look at that, and I made her kind of a minor food celebrity whose entire livelihood is dependent on her presentation on Instagram and Twitter, and she presents as you can imagine like Ina Garten, sort of if she had a YouTube show instead of, and her recipes and her perfect life, and it's revealed to all be, someone hacks her, and it's revealed to all be a sham. She's having an affair, the recipes aren't hers, nothing in her life is true. And so I wanted to take a look at how do you step back into who you were before you decided you needed to be who you thought the world wanted you to be. And so it's sort of a story of redemption in that way. And then ironically, I'm now writing the script for it with my husband, and the person who bought it is Amy Pascal, who was the person who was hacked for Sony. So I thought that was sort of great that she's willing to do that. Yeah.
One thing I noticed about your book is I felt like it was really a story about authenticity and about being vulnerable and being comfortable sharing the authentic you. Was that kind of the direction you were going as well? I mean, I felt like that was the underlying core.
Well, I think that with each of my books, I like to do a lot of research, and for this novel, I spoke to several bloggers, and influencers who have a couple 100,000 followers up to a couple million followers, and what is involved in their day. And I also spoke to psychologists about what happens when all of your validation is coming from outside, and how that messes with your ability to understand what it is that's going to make you happy and how to be authentic. You lose the desire and even understanding of how to be vulnerable. It's a great word that you used, because everything is about looking invulnerable. And so I really did want to sort of peel back what happens when you have no choice but reactivating your vulnerable self. And it's not a pretty journey for her, and she's not a pretty person, particularly certainly at the beginning. But I wanted to sort of make that leap into, okay, if you're going to go back to who you actually are, the costs of that, but more importantly, the rewards of it.
And this is about women in media tonight, and that's a really big thing that I find that we as women in the media, we're always kind of dancing with how much do we share? Can you all agree, like that's something that's part of the journey, is always trying to figure out like how much are you really putting out there of yourself, or do you feel like you just put it all out there?
I do.
You
I
do?
mean, I just feel like the truth.
Yeah.
Because that's when you get hurt, when you're lying and you're presenting something that's not true. That's when you really can have a lot of damage. But if you are truthful about yourself, I mean, that's what I used to call Danny, bulletproof man. My ex-husband was Danny Bonaduce. He was a very famous sex child star. He was very open about all of his issues. And I would say you should just run for office, because you just put all of your warts out there, and no one can hurt you because you out yourself about every bad thing you've done before anyone else can do it. And I think that's just true. If you're honest about your existence, then people can't hurt you. It's when you're trying to portray something that's not true. And I think in my marriage, for instance, my ex-husband had a radio show, and he was out there every day going, I love my wife, I love my wife. And then finding out all the things he was doing behind my back, that was damaging for him because people believed him, you know. And I feel like when you're honest about your life and your existence, people can't hurt you, you know. It's when you're not telling the truth that people are going to come out of nowhere and expose you, and then that's when you are vulnerable to having bad things happen.
I totally get that, but I also feel like I try to reserve a little bit of me for me. I'm much more open in Facebook, let's say, than Twitter and Instagram, where anyone can follow me. Facebook is really pretty much people that I know. Hi. And so I'm more likely to share how I'm really feeling, what I feel about politics, or pictures of my kids, things like that. I do less so on Twitter and Instagram. And it's not that I want to kind of hide parts of myself, but I don't feel it necessary to get every bit of myself out there. And part of me, I think, also kind of protects me as an actor and a writer, so you don't know what to expect from me, and you don't know where I'm coming from. And there's so much of my brand that I'm happy sharing, but then part of me just kind of wants to keep, the special things for me.
I don't care. I just share everything. I mean, it's just the truth. I'm sorry. But I just put everything out there because I'm just that kind of person, like I have nothing to hide. You're not going to find naked pictures of me anywhere. You're not going to find me arrested somewhere in a jail. I just have tried to live a really honest and good life, and to be kind to people and to be nice and to try to help people, and that's what I do. So I'm not worried. Like, there's nothing out there that anyone could ever say, so I don't worry about it. I think that if I, had something that could potentially damage me, I'd be more worried, but there just isn't, and I just tell everything. I just don't care. But I'm not good at being a narcissist. Like, I'm not a person that can post 20 times a day, which is why I have very low social media, because I'm not every day going, look at me eating my food. Oh, here I am driving down the street. Like I'm not good at that. Like I can't do those kind of things. But when I do say things, I kind of put it all out there. Yeah. What about you?
I'm terrible. But I'm like listening to you. I'm like, if you would take over my social media, my publisher would be so happy. I'm like horrible. I like post like twice a year. Literally. I mean, like I posted like my Instagram. I've had maybe 50 posts ever. Like they were all from like 3 years ago when my last novel, 800 Grapes, came out, and then I have like 5 pictures of nothing from this time. Like I'm awful at it, and my parents were very private, and writing fiction, I feel like I love it. Ironically, because it's not true, but it feels so honest to me, and I feel like that's where I'm putting everything. And I'm so bad at social, and I love social media. Like I love reading other people's social media. What you're talking about being authentic, I can sense when someone's being authentic, and I want to read it. I'm just not good at it. I'm like, here's a picture of the back of my son's head because I don't want to post it.
Right, exactly.
Look at the back of my son's head. I love him. I don't want to look at that. So I'm not great at it. So.
Well, and I also try to be interested in the people that are interested in me.
Right.
Like I really try to interact with anyone that writes me privately, because I just feel like that's really selfish if you're just like, love me, like my stuff, but you can't go, hey, that's a nice picture of you, or that food looks yummy, or whatever, like I really try to interact and be fair, because I don't want to be a person that's just sucking up, look at me. Like I only have 3,000 people anyway, or well, if you combine it, probably 10. What do you have, like a million?
No, I think I have like 45 or 44,000 on Instagram, and like 27 on Twitter, and maybe close to 2 on Facebook. Yeah. But I've made friends with a lot of my fans, especially my readers, because you feel when you expose yourself like that, you feel very naked and very vulnerable. And when someone comes and tells you that what you've done has touched them in a very special way, it means something. It's like this exchange that you have, and so I've got a private Facebook group for fans of The Idea of You, and I get to know people. I've gone to enough signings, and I've I've hung out and gone to drinks and like dinners, and I like my readers. I feel like they like me, and so I mean, and they're all around the world. I have readers in New Zealand and Australia and England and Scotland. It's just kind of amazing. I feel like the best gift this book has brought for me is friends around the world, and feeling like I'm connecting with these women, predominantly women around the world, and like. It's really kind of lovely, and I think if you don't do social media, you don't realize you can do that.
So that is actually, I was going to say, I think that one of the best things about social media, and the one thing I do is anyone that writes to me, I write back to, but I write back like privately. Like the other day, someone on Twitter like sent me something, I like sent back. I don't even know how to work Twitter very well, so like I'm like, why don't you email me at this number? And they like wrote me, they're like, you're not really supposed to put your email on Twitter, but you might want to take that down. But like, but I'll write, but that is a beautiful thing about social media, because when I was growing up and I wanted to write to an author, you had to like write to the publisher, whatever. It's immediate. You can send a note.
I follow Judy Bloom, because it's like, I was just looking at you have Forever over here, and I was like, I opened to the right page. I was like, oh yes, I remember this, Ralph. But like if I could have reached out and like had a conversation with Judy Bloom when I was 10 years old, that would have like changed my world.
I think it's interesting that your book focuses so much on social media, and you're like, I'm hardly ever on it.
Exactly.
But how much of you is in your book?
So, Hello Sunshine probably the least amount,
Really?
because part of my challenge and what I wanted to do with that book was create a character who I found very unlikable at the beginning, and see how I could, through the course of writing. I don't outline. I always start with sort of a question at the center of each novel that I'm trying to figure out. And for this novel, I like the idea that you don't become terrible all at once. It happens in very small increments.
Yes.
And so how do you trace yourself back to when you were the person you could have been? So that's a question for that book. So for me, she felt very removed from me. My previous novels, there are characters that are more like me. My most sort of autobiographical novel is a novel called 800 Grapes, which came out, which is my book before that, which takes place, it's a sort of a messy family drama that takes place at a vineyard up in Sonoma County. But the main character there is someone I very much relate to. So I think it just depends on the book. But for Hello Sunshine, she is someone that I was trying to move toward in the writing. So.
I love it. And Robin,
Yes.
your book idea came from your husband. Tell the story.
Slightly.
I love this story.
So I wrote this book called The Idea of You.
Yes.
I have it here. And it's a story of a woman who is a 39-year-old divorced art dealer here in Los Angeles, and she owns an art gallery. She has a 12-year-old daughter who's obsessed with this British boy band, and the mother takes the daughter to a concert and meet and greet with the band, and one of the guys in the band falls for the mom, and he's 20. And they embark on this relationship that starts off as kind of a series of trysts in various locations and very quickly becomes a genuine love story, and it affects every aspect of her life in unexpected ways. And it started out, I was... in the spring of 2014, my husband was away on business, and I was home late, and the kids were sleeping. I was up late watching YouTube, and I came across a music video with a band and a guy in the band who was absolutely stunning and like gorgeous face, but definitely really, really young. And I spent about an hour like Googling him and going down this rabbit hole. Like, what does he like to do on his first date? And realized that he dated older women. Sorry, and I was like,
Harry Styles?
I'm not saying who it is. And I was like, but I realized he dated older women. I was like, and so that kind of like planted the seed. And my husband came back from his business trip, and I said to him, like, I've found the perfect guy. I'm thinking about leaving you and the kids and running off and finding this guy, but he's half my age and he's in a boy band. And my husband said, you're crazy, but that would make a great book. And I kind of thought, oh my gosh, and like that was exactly what I needed to get me out of the funk of having not sold the last book. Because I thought I would so enjoy this, writing this. I know it really well. When I was like 12, 13 years old, I was obsessed with Duran Duran, so I knew how to write it from the 13-year-old girl's perspective. And then right out of college, I managed a singing group, a girls group with a girlfriend, and we got one of the new kids on the block to produce for us. And so I got to spend time with them when they were kind of like at the height of their fame. And so I knew like the inner machinations of a boy band. Like I'd been exposed to that world in a way that most people don't know. And I was, turning 40, and so I could kind of like put all these pieces together and write this book, and I just knocked it out really quickly, and I really enjoyed it, and it was very emotional. I think you're talking about like what you have in common with your character, and there were some things about getting older that I definitely had in common with my protagonist, but it was very much an emotional roller coaster because I allowed myself to really go on this ride with her, and I really fell in love with my all of my characters, but especially the guy named Hayes Campbell. And to the point that I remember early on, I was kind of deciding like how he smelled. Like I wanted him to have a very specific fragrance, and I went like sampling colognes in like a department store, and I'm trying all these different smells, whatever. And the woman's helping me, and she said, "Are you buying this for someone in particular?" And I said, "My husband." And she looked at me like, "Oh yeah." And I thought, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm having an affair. And I was like, I am having an affair, but in my head. And that's when I realized, like, I'm totally falling in love with this guy. And it was like, and then, the book ended and the relationship ended. And it was awful. Like, I really should have been in therapy, but I was not. And so I just kind of curl up in the floor of the closet and cry every night for like months. You can ask my husband. This is totally true. So I think that I did have a lot in common with my character in that way, yes.
I love that there were so many different nuances and cultures in your book. It's like you dove into the French culture, the British culture, the Jamaican culture. How do you put all that together in one book?
I think that's just me. Both my parents were born and raised in Jamaica. My dad is half black, half Chinese, and my mom has always been, to me, black, English, Scottish, and Arawak Indian, which is the indigenous tribe of Jamaica, which is what we've always heard. But I just got back my 23andMe, and we're not Arawak Indian.
Oh, wow.
It's just more white people. So I'm more British than I thought. But I feel like it explains something because I'm a huge Anglophile, and I've always been a Francophile. So I lived in Paris when I was studying in school, and I speak fluent French, and I'm very enamored of French culture, and so I wanted to, that's all just me. I wanted to put it all in there. I think everything I write will always have like a little English, a little French, a little Jamaican. I don't know.
I loved it. I love that there were so many minute little details. The Vivier shoes,
Vivier shoes. Wow.
I mean, just everything. I felt like I could visually see the film playing as I was reading it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I thought that was really, really cool and unusual in a way because there was so much. It was so rich with so many different cultures and so many different details that it really carried the story in a different direction.
Well, I think that I'm for years I kept a journal very, very, I was very dedicated about it, like 20 years or 25 years of my life, and I don't as much anymore. But I'd write down everything, and I'd want to remember everything, and I pay very specific attention to detail, like everything from the color of her sweater to his shoes, so like your glasses, the shape, little things like that, smells, everything kind of feeds me as an actor as well, and it's one of the things that you learn when you're studying acting. They say things like an actor never forgets, and so you're kind of very aware of like, what does lemon taste like, and how does marble feel, and so all those things I kind of hold in here, and I was able to articulate as I wrote.
Yeah, it was very good. I loved how you described him as smelling like mint and lemon. I was like, ooh, I can smell with a little bit of sandalwood.
A little sandalwood.
Put all that together.
It's very important to me. Like I feel like it kind of it helps you to build. It helps for the character to come off the page. I feel like the more characters that you can imbue them with that feel very specific and tangible, help to make them real, and real for my readers as well.
And how do you think your acting shapes your writing?
Well, that attention to detail, which
Yes.
I mentioned before, but I also feel like in theater you have to study meter. Like you study Shakespeare, you study David Mamet, and you're always learning about like meter. And so I feel like when I write with meter in mind, and I reread everything out loud. I say everything out loud, and I'm listening to the rhythm of it. Like it almost has to feel like poetry to me. And oh, sorry, it has to feel like poetry to me. I read everything out loud while I'm writing dialogue, but description, everything. So I need to feel that rhythm in my writing, and I feel like a lot of that comes from acting. And then I also have an affinity for dialogue. Like I'm reading scripts. I've been reading scripts for 20 plus years all the time. And so I know what good dialogue sounds like and what sounds natural and what sounds stilted. And I kind of bring that to the page.
Wonderful. And Gretchen, your book, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to start. Is it all autobiographical?
Yeah.
There's all
All
of
of
it.
it, yeah.
All of it.
I mean, that's really all I could write because I'm not a writer. Like you write and you write, and I'm not a writer. This was my first attempt, so what I could do was just try to convey my story, and that's what I did because, yeah, I wasn't like you going, oh, what does he smell like? You know, like I couldn't have attempted that. So I just tried to write, and if I got stuck, I just keep moving on. Like I didn't try to write it in an order because I knew I was going to get stuck. Like if I was going to try to put this in, this is 1967 and then 1970. So I just would write whatever I was thinking, and then when I was able to try to put it in order, then I did. And then I had a writing coach who then completely broke it up and was like, no, this isn't in order, and we're going to break it up from 1967 to 1990s. So, but yeah, I just tried to write and not get stuck because you'll never finish, you know, if you're trying to do something and do it in an order. And so I didn't try to do that.
No, was there a certain process, like you thought of something that happened and you're like, oh, I need to write that down, or maybe going through photographs? Like, what was your way of putting it together?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
I really would think about a story, and then I would make notes about, oh, I should write that story. That picture just reminded me of something. So, yeah, that's kind of how I went about it, because if you're not a writer, then I think it's difficult to try to do what you guys do. And so I just tried to finish the book. And so however I could do that was how I did it. Yeah, and that was just writing. Like any story that I thought if I got stuck, I'd move to the next story. You know, I'm like, okay, I can't finish this one, so I'm going to write this story now. And so I did that. And of course, I knew I was going to have editors, so I didn't worry about anything, you know, because I knew they wouldn't let me look stupid. Like I would turn in the manuscript and they'd go, oh, you're stupid, but we're going to fix this for you. So, yeah, so I try not to worry about that. So, you know, punctuation, wrong tenses, whatever. I just wrote, kind of vomited it all out, literally. Like within 6 months, I had finished most of the manuscript. Wow. And then it took me a long time to get it sold, like 3 or 4 years. It's not easy. Like when you're trying to write a book, it is really not easy to get someone to look at it. You know, I had Natalie, who's hosting this tonight. So she was trying to guide me and help me. I ended up getting a New York lit agent, and I lost a year there because that's how long it takes for them. You know, they submit your manuscript. It takes about a year for everybody to get back to you. And what they do is they send it up through the line. Like one person will read it. They'll go, oh, I like this. So they'll send it to the next level. So if you're lucky, you'll get to the top. I never made it to the top. Like, I can't wait to print. No, like all the no's I got. But yeah, it took a year to get back everyone that said no. And then she was able to help me find this amazing book company called Rare Bird. And I am so fortunate to be with them. They're such a great company. So I ended up going with them. So I lost a year with waiting for everyone to say no to me, which they all did. And then I ended up with this company, and then that took another year and a half before we actually got it out because, you know, you're in rewrites, and then you have to wait and go through legal, and there's kind of a lot of steps you have to go through, but it took a long time. So from start to finish, probably 4 years from writing it and actually getting it out there.
Wow, that's incredible. what about for you, Robin? What was the start to finish?
Mine happened really quickly. I started writing.
I'm not surprised, Miss Overage. I'm not even surprised you said that at all.
I don't want to finish. I think it took me about 15 months to write the draft that got me my agent. I spent 3 months doing his notes. We sold it within 3 weeks.
Wow. And for you?
So the book that I lost, I rewrote it, and I got an agent at a writers' conference, and this is, really do think also, speaking to what you're saying, it's very important to be your own advocate, because she made a list of editors that she wanted to go to, and there was an editor that, like, I think whether you're a writer or a reader, you might have a stack of books on, like, your bedside table that are your favorites, and several of them, I read the acknowledgments, and they all had the same editor. And I said, I want you to send it to this editor. And she's like, oh, she's not going to take it. She's the vice president of the. I said, just please add that to your list. And she took it 5 days later. Wow. So she's the one that bought it. But if I hadn't advocated for myself, it wouldn't have gone to her. Subsequently, she went on sabbatical, and I was handed to another editor, an orphan, but that's a different part of the story. But, and then for my last 2 novels, I switched publishers, and I went to Simon & Schuster, but again, advocated for myself. There was an editor I knew I wanted to work with. And I think also, if you're interested in writing or thinking about writing, something that's very useful is in novels that you write, in books that you read, that you enjoy, to look in the acknowledgments, look at who helped create that novel, agents, editors, and you can keep a list for yourself, because if you're drawn to those books, they might be drawn to your book. And I think that was a valuable lesson, because otherwise, if you are trusting an agent, not that I'm sure your agent did a great job for you, but you're at the mercy then, and it's really hard when you care so deeply about what you've created to be at the mercy of other people and waiting for them.
Yeah, see, I've only written 1 book, so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I had no expectations. I wasn't like, oh, I should advocate for myself. Yeah. I'm just like, holy crap, I hope someone buys this book. I mean, I didn't even think about doing that, because I don't have the experience that you had. I just wanted to get it out there, and I wasn't picky about anything. Yeah. Like, I was like, who wants to edit my book? Someone's like, me. I'm like, there you go. Like, I wasn't at all. Yeah, I was just so thrilled to have it out there. And, but you've had how many books?
Hello Sunshine's my 5th.
Your 5th, and how many have you had?
1, just 1.
Oh.
1 published.
You are such a little show off over there.
But no, the others are like failures. I want you to let you know those are ones I've not. So
no, but I do think that when you're in the position that you're in, but that's such good advice. Well, had I known that, I would have maybe thought about looking to see who might connect with my book, but I didn't even think that way. Like,
it's actually really surprising knowing myself now that I thought that way then, because I feel like I was better. I think I was almost naive. I was 20, in my late 26, 27, and I just like had these ideas in my head. It was almost like naive. Like, I'm like, oh, but I think this editor would like it. Like, what did I know? Like, it could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah. Well, with producing shows, I do that, because that's my experience. Yeah. So I don't care about going to someone and just, approaching them and going, hey, I have this idea, you want to hear it? Because that I get, but like with a book, I would have never thought to do that.
So you came at this from a producer into a writer. How did your production background help with putting together your project?
You know what? I'm not really sure on that. Okay. I mean, I did write a lot about my TV experience, but I don't know if it was like on a level where I was conscious of that's what I was doing. But I think being a producer is helpful when you're writing a book, because I get how things are supposed to work. I was on a TV show called Gimme My Reality Show, and it was a bunch of D-listers, including myself, like not like upper echelon talent. And I knew I couldn't win the show. It was a contest, and you had to shoot a show, present it, and then America voted on who they thought did the best show. Well, I don't have an American Idol fan base. I don't have a Baywatch fan base, and we had people of that caliber on the show. Even though, again, we were all D-listers. There was no A-listers on the show. And I said to myself, okay, I can't win the show, but I'm going to give them the best show anyway because I produce shows, so I know my show is going to be the best. And it was, and America voted, and I ended up winning. So, you just never know. Yeah, it was crazy that I never in a million years thought I could win. But I have that mind about producing shows and what people want to watch. And so I kind of tried to write my book with that. Like, what would someone maybe find interesting that has happened to me in my life that they might want to read about? And then that's taking a shot too, because people could be like, "Oh, we don't care about you or that or anything."
It's very entertaining.
Yeah. But I just tried to pick things that I thought, if I was reading this book, would I want to read this story, and would I think it was interesting or funny or sad, or so I tried to pick stories that I thought would be entertaining. Like, I see my book. I'm trying to pitch it as a movie, as sort of a Bridget Jones' Diary, like a true Bridget Jones' Diary and I, Tonya. Like, that is totally the movie.
That's funny.
No, because
That's
it is.
great.
It is totally, if you made my book into a movie, that would be
so
it.
funny.
Because the absurd situations that I have had in my life, they're just ridiculous. They're Bridget Jonesy, and then they're I, Tonya, and yet it's all true. So, I just tried to write from, if I was reading this, would this be a story I would want to read?
Right.
Yeah. And then you hope they are. Because I didn't know. I had no idea. Do I have a fan base that will buy this book? Do I know people that would be interested in the story? Like, you just don't know. You're just kind of putting it out there, and it's really scary because you are putting it out there for people to judge. And some people are going to like it, some people are going to hate it. And, like, I'm finding that out now. Like, I had lunch with my daughter the other day. She's like, "Mom, everybody hates your book." I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Let me pull up the
Your Goodreads.
yeah, Goodreads, yeah.
That's not a nice
Goodreads
one.
is horrifying.
Yeah, so she pulled it up. She's like, "This person gave it a 1," and she said this. I'm like, "What?" Yeah. But it's just something you have to be able to deal with and be prepared with that. Some people are going to like it, and some people are going to hate it. And the people that hate you will write every 5 minutes how much they hate you. Yeah. The people that love you and like you probably aren't going to take the time unless you ask them. Like, I'm now on my Facebook constantly, "Hi, guys, kind of getting killed on Goodreads. Could you guys go over there and say something nice?" Yeah. And the other thing is, on Amazon, somehow they know if you're friends with somebody. Like,
Yeah,
a
they
lot
can.
of my friends.
And so they won't let them post.
Yeah, no, they were like, "We tried to write a nice thing, and it said, this person, you can't post this thing."
How do they know?
If you have, like,
Their
gifts, let's say you've sent things to that person's home or something like
You're
that. Like a
kidding.
baby gift 10 years ago. They can be
Wow.
like, "Oh, you're friends with her."
Big brother.
It
Yeah.
is, totally.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
usually
go on Goodreads anymore.
I don't
my
go on any
husband
of them.
sends me
Yeah.
like the best ones. He'll send
Yeah.
something like, "You should read this." So you should.
Aw, that's
I
sweet.
can't look at it. It's
Yeah, my
so-
daughter wants to point out the bad ones to me. She's like, "Mom, look how everyone hates you." Yeah, but I didn't even know about that till she told me
Yeah.
about Goodreads. But so now I'm trying to counter it with people because people are busy. They don't have a lot of time in their life, so you kind of have to ask them to help you out, and they will. Like, I bet in the last 24 hours I've had 20 people write nice things because I'm like,
you ask them.
yeah,
I do too. You
Yeah.
have to ask your ask your
Yeah.
fans it doesn't have to be like this beautiful literary masterpiece. Just
No,
write like
just give it
few
a 5 star and
sentences.
go, "It's great, 2
Exactly.
thumbs up."
Thumbs
That's
up,
all.
exactly. Emoji, anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to take just a few moments. I know we're running tight on time, but I'd like to open it up for questions. Okay, yes.
Me, okay. So I know there's a lot of marketing students here, and what I wanted to ask each one of you is, what is it that you do to market yourself, your stories, your books? Is there, what type of strategy do you take? I know we talked about the fact that you don't want to show too much on social media, but what is it that you're willing to give of yourselves in order to, make your work successful?
Well, my strategy is really simple. I bully all my friends in the entertainment business to bully all their friends to put me on anything, as far as the radio shows, newspaper. I mean, because you really have to do everything you can to make your book a success.
Right.
It's not easy. Like, I truly thought that because I had a big successful show on VH1 10 years ago. It's been a while, but I thought, oh, I could call anyone, The View, although they'd be like, yeah, we'd love to have you on. They're like, no, she's not an A-lister. Like, that's pretty much what I'm getting. So you kind of have to do everything you can and pull in all the favors that you can to get it out there. So that's what I do. I just kind of count on all my entertainment friends to help me out, because you have to.
How do you make yourself relevant then?
I probably haven't. No one seems to care. But no, I'm just trying to, like now with Me Too, like anything you can align your book with where people will identify, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, and I think that's really a good idea to try to align with whatever is happening right now. If there's a way you can angle what you're doing to fit somehow and do that.
I feel like, sorry, what was the question? I feel like for me, my book has been a very slow build, and it's been really word of mouth, and people who find it and love it and tell their friends, and they tell their friends. It's like that old Fabergé Organics commercial from like 1978 that I'm totally aging myself. But I really feel like that's been the best thing for me. And every day there's someone new who shows up in the Facebook group. Like, I brought in my friend Christina, she's crying hysterically, you've got to come and comfort her. And then like everyone like puts in like their little emojis and gifs of like giving hugs and whatever. And like, we're here for you, we loved it too. And it just continues to grow. And I engage with all of them. I put in updates, what I'm doing, whatever. I found this reminded me of this. Oh, I went back to visit this place that was in the book. You might want to see a picture of it, like things like that. My book takes you kind of on this whirlwind tour of like everywhere, and there's a lot of travel. There's a big travel component, and so whenever I travel, I'm uploading pictures, whatever, and the fans have gone and done their different like idea of you. Like they'll go to Paris and like I was in this place and I was in London and this is where whatever it is, and then they're posting their own pictures of the places that I've mentioned. Very specific, this restaurant, this hotel in the book, or like this piece of art, and it's kind of cool, and so I really feel like that's kind of been my way of prolonging it. It's totally word of mouth, and I just keep engaging with them, and I'm always open to answering all their questions. I'm never, because usually they're very kind. They're not.
Something that I've done because and I think social media is so important now, is sort of a general marketing answer, but for those of us that are limited in that arena, and our abilities in that arena, something that I've done with, and it sort of happens organically, which is I think my novels really, so the book clubs have been incredibly welcoming to them. So I've spoken to over, at this point, 280 book clubs, 280 book groups. And a lot of them are small. Some of them I do on Skype. Some of them I do in person. But I feel like if you are it's almost the opposite of social media. But if you are in an environment like that and there are 20 people there, there are 50 people there, they become sort of fans for life. And it's a sort of a very intimate setting in which to talk about things. So I do a lot of that. And then I also do, in terms of marketing, whenever I have a novel come out, that's when I write essays for different publications. That helps less now, I think, than it used to, but I'll do it for online publications too. And so you sort of write about something related to the book, and then that helps generate some excitement. So, yeah.
Yeah, no one tells you that, by the way, is that when you've got a book coming out and you're not a star, no one just wants to interview you. They want you to come up with product for their website or whatever it is. And so you spend so much time writing about your book or different angles of your book. It's really exhausting. And I wish someone had told me, like, because now I have it in mind, it's made choosing the next book much more difficult, because I'm like, what do I want to write 70 essays about like 3 years from now? So just keep that in mind, that to promote yourself, you're going to have to write about your book.
Yeah, you do have to create interest. I've been really lucky because a lot of the great things that I ended up doing kind of fell in my lap. You know, things where people just found me on Facebook, like Fox News. And they did an article, and then that got picked up in Apple News and Daily Mail UK and the Globe, and so I've just been very fortunate that I've been able to have a lot of things written, but getting on TV shows has been really hard. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, trying to get out there, unless you're an A-lister, which, again, I keep hearing over and over. She's not an A-lister, which I think is so offensive that we have. I know that we have these levels on humans. Like, you're an A-lister, you're a B-lister, we can't even talk to. Like, you're, yeah. So.
Yeah, so when you guys are
Louder, please.
Okay, when you guys were seeking literary agents, and it came to write a book proposal, what I've learned is that you have to write all the reasons your book is different from a book already published with a similar theme. What I've been learning is, literary agents want you to specifically tell them, oh, here's this title, this is why it's different. And to me, I just feel like, that could be 10 years where you could read every title that has a similar theme.
Is this for a novel?
Or nonfiction.
Oh, for novels? Oh, a memoir. I don't know. I don't memoirs much well.
That's you.
That's what I did. Yeah, I think I just was really lucky that because I did have a TV show, so I did have people that were willing to look at my material. And then I did try to come up with a name for the book to convey, I wanted it to be funny. So I tried to come up with the funny name for the book, which ended up being Surviving Agent Orange and Other Things I Learned from Being Thrown Under the Partridge Family Bus, which is, I wanted to convey it's a funny book. It's not a mean book. And also, I wanted also for people to know, oh, this book is funny, when you pick it up. Because I didn't want people to think, oh, this is a mean book and this is, something that's going to be terrible. But the title is a lot. I think that my book company had a lot of success getting people interested in maybe carrying my book because they thought the title was funny. So the title is really important. It definitely is.
I also think anything else really quickly that meeting someone in person is always helpful. There's some really great writers' conferences in and around LA, or some like Sewanee in Tennessee, Breadloaf. And if you go there and you can get some face time with an agent, it's much harder, and they're much more inclined, I should say, to want to connect with you if there's something that makes it personal. So whenever possible, as opposed to just sending letters, if there's a way to meet someone face to face, that's a very useful tool.
For sure, because a lot of people don't take unsolicited material anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you just try to send something in without them asking you to, they'll just bounce it back. And they don't, even with TV shows, if you try to write William Morris or any of those people and go, hey, I have a really good idea, and you're just sending it out there, they'll block you even. You'll get an email back saying, we do not accept unsolicited material. You are now further blocked from ever contacting this agency.
Wow.
So you have to be really careful about doing that. Yeah.
So there's a gentleman. Yes, your question.
Yeah, hey, oh, it's supposed to be loud.
Yes, please.
So writing is something I've always had a really tough time with, so I just admire that you guys have, finished books, let alone selling it and doing all that. So I'm just curious, something that's always been difficult for me is just sort of time management and, figuring out a book is a huge task. How did you guys break that down, schedule the time for it? What was that writing process like for you?
For me, it was discipline, for sure. I just wanted to, every day, I would go, I'd sit at the zoo. That's where I wrote a lot of my book. I would sit on a bench by the orangutans, have my glass of wine, my iPad. No, literally, I did.
You could bring wine into the
Yeah, no, they sell it there. They sell it, yeah, they do. So I would go get my glass of wine, go sit on the bench at the orangutan exhibit, and I just, every day, tried to say, you have to write a chapter. And so I would try to do that as much as I could. Sometimes I'd get stuck and I'd quit, but that's how I wrote it so fast. 6-7 months is pretty fast, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just tried to be disciplined about it. Yeah.
You have a family card?
A family card? Yes, I do.
To go to the zoo?
Yes, I do.
I was obsessed. It was obsession, and I wrote around the clock whenever I could. And I brought my laptop with me everywhere, and I wrote in my car and at Starbucks and Le Pain Quotidien, waiting while my kid was at water polo or my daughter was in ballet or gymnastics, or like in waiting rooms at hospital, like in doctor's offices. Like, I wrote nonstop for that book. Everything else far is just kind of like, I'm not one of those. You're probably much more disciplined because she's done 5 novels.
I'm a big believer that what you do first thing every day is what you always will do, because you make time for it. So I don't turn on, apparently because I'm not on social media, it's not that hard for me not to turn on the internet, but I write immediately, almost upon waking up. I have a 2-year-old, so now it's a little more challenging, but in theory, what I always have done is I write from 6 to 1. And then I'm done for the day. And if you can't do 6 to 1, when I lost my novel and I moved back to New York, and I was working 13 jobs that year after I lost that novel, but I didn't take any job that would make me be there before 10. So then it was 5 to 10, and then but it's whatever hours, and then I think it doesn't have to be first time, but I think if it's you make it as much of a routine as you can, if you can. You sit down same time every day, you sit down in the same place, or whatever you find works for you, 2 times a week, whatever. I listen to the same song on repeat when I write.
What song is that?
I know.
Well, we need that song.
Every book it changes depending on the book.
All right,
So,
what was the last song for the last book?
Midnight.
Moonlight Mile
Mile.
was for Hello
So you only do
Sunshine.
one thing?
One
'Cause I had
song.
a full-on playlist.
Yeah, no, one song, because then also, and I stop wherever I stop that day writing, and I start again on that next, because it like meditatively brings me back into where I was. For Amos Lee was What's Been Going On was one. My first book was Ryan Adams, Call Me on Your Way Back Home, and I met him at a bar shortly after I finished the book. Like, met him. He was sitting at the bar, and I walked up to him and I said, I listened to your song 5,800, whatever, and he was like, that was the closest I've ever come to about to be kicked out of somewhere. Yeah.
He's like, stalker.
Yeah.
No, that's impressive.
If you just tell yourself it matters to you in some way, however you can tell yourself that's the best thing, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, so much. This was incredible. There was so much good information, and I love the sharing of your journey and your writing and everything. And I just want to remind everyone that their books are available this evening. It is National Reading Group Month, and we are celebrating that this evening. Women's National Book Association, we do lots of events throughout the year. Again, we have a list over here to sign up to find out about more events that we will be planning, such as this and more. I already said and more. Anyway, I just got off a flight before I got here, so pardon me. But thank you so much to our authors. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Spotlight Books. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget, you can listen to this and all of our other great podcasts at skylightbooks.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.